Do we have Dana?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. All right. Then Dana, I'm going to stop the screen share for a minute. I'll pull up Dana's text to me and maybe she can also tee it up. So she was using LeadDeck at an open house. She sent me a voice memo. This was on Friday at 7:04 p.m. my time. She's 3 hours behind or something like that. She was at an open house and she was tapping to text and email because I think she wasn't tapping to call because she didn't want to be in a engaging conversation and then have someone come in. And you had somebody that responded immediately, and he's got several different parcels of land that he would consider selling. And if I remember correctly, the one you were reaching out to him about was actually under contract, but he was excited about the possibility of you helping him with others. Is that fair? Is that accurate
Yeah.
to some degree?
So I was calling not necessarily on vacant land, so I don't know how he happened to pop up in there, but the property I had texted him about apparently was just a piece of vacant land. So when he called back, I answered and he said, "Hey, this one's under escrow. However, I've got 100 acres here, I've got 20 acres there, I've got 30 acres here, I've got 600 acres here. Overall, in total," he says, "I've got about 1,000 acres. Can you sell it?" I said, "Sure." I've never done or dealt with anything as far as just vacant land before, but he has it under several different businesses. So he started listing off all the businesses. So I've been trying to pull what land I can find that's listed under them and things like that.
Okay. So I'm going to try to keep this short and punchy and at least give you a version 1.0 of what I would do if this were me and how I would approach this. Number one, actually, before I get into the strategy, I would keep in mind, document and demonstrate the work you're doing as often as you think makes sense with him. What I mean by that, keep him in the loop on the work that you're doing on his behalf so that it makes it easier for him to say yes when you ask the question, would you be totally opposed to listing this thing on the open market and giving me a shot to bring you an ideal buyer? You might say he already has some sort of relationship with another agent. That agent might have brought him that deal. There may have been some other reason there, and he might not be happy with that agent. So don't assume that just because he has a working relationship with an agent, that means that agent is getting all of his business, especially if you document and demonstrate value along the way. Dana sent me the zip code of one of the parcels. The first thing I would do is I would reach out to all 40 vacant land buyers in that zip code. Hi, James. This is Josh with eXp Realty. Are you still buying land in the Casa Grande area? I have an off-market parcel that could be a great opportunity for the right investor. No, I'm not. Do you know anyone else who is? Birds of a feather flock together. No, I don't. Okay. Do you have any parcels or properties in your current portfolio that you would consider selling or an offer on? So ask the 3 no's. That would be first and foremost, I'd go through all 40 of those. Second thing I would do is I would find in your MLS, I would go back 180 or 365 days, just depending on how many results you get. And I would find and search for, hunt for who were agents that sold similar parcels of land. And I would call every single one of them. Hey, James, this is Josh with eXp Realty. It looks like you represented a buyer of a parcel of land in Casa Grande about 3 months ago. Is that client of yours still looking for anything? Because I have a parcel that's currently off market that the seller would like to sell. He's just not ready to list it. And just see, you might be able to match make that way. That's number 2. Number 3, I would use it as bait and follow A, the deal of the week email strategy, and B, the posting strategy that I shared February 4th. If you go to leaddeck.ai/sprints, the process that I shared, I think there was 5 or 7 of them. I would pick at least 3 of them, do the bullet point strategy. Hey, I've got these. If you go to leaddeck.ai/sprints, this one right here, inbound social media lead gen, I would do all of that, and I would probably update him at each checkpoint. So here's what I've done so far. I reached out to all of the active land buyers in Casa Grande about this parcel. I have a couple of nibbles, but nothing concrete yet. Then the next day or 2 days later, I reached out to all of the buyer's agents who represented buyers that bought land similar to yours in Casa Grande to see if any of them are still interested. And number 3, after you do deal of the week in the inbound, and at that point, you may not even have to ask for the business. He may offer the business. And if not, would you be totally opposed to giving me an opportunity to get this thing on the open market to see if we can bring you an offer that would be acceptable for you? And I think you noted that he has 7, so I'll go back to this. Pick one. Now, the reason why I said use the 3 bullet point or 5 in deal of the week or in the inbound strategy, the inbound social strategy, because I have just found that when you do bullet points and you ask which numbers, I'm getting more responses than if I'm just putting out one. But as far as asking for the business and your strategic outreach, like your sniper outreach for the buyers and the buyer's agents, I would pick one. And when you ask, I would pick one. Earn his trust and business for one, and then you can expand. Now, the only reason or maybe indicator that I would pivot is if you send out deal of the week email or the inbound social posting and you put 3 or 5 and you notice everyone is asking about number 2 and number 2 is the different one than what you were picking as your first choice, then you might pivot, go back to the start, and if that was a different zip code, put in a different zip code, do that work, put in that different zip code or city, reach out to the buyer's agent, and just refresh.
Okay.
Dana, does that make sense? A, do you have any follow-up questions? B, and does anyone else have anything to add or follow-up questions to that plan of attack, at least as far as I see it, that would make sense for Dana?
I don't think I have any follow-up questions necessarily. I guess just picking which one I'm going to start with, because there's a lot of them. He was rattling stuff off quicker than I could write down.
Here's the good news. I don't think you go wrong on picking any of them, in that you're using that as a reason, a justification to reach out to people who are actively in the market to some degree and to connect with other agents in your market, and who knows. And so I'm glad you brought that follow-up clarification.
So I do have a question. He's got land that's zoned commercial and he's got some that's zoned residential. Would you pick one over another?
I would, if I were you, I would probably pick the residential because you're a residential agent first and foremost. So that would be easier for you to connect the dots potentially. So that would be maybe a decision tree to make. And also, before I lose this point, when you have conversations with either the active buyers and or the buyer's agents, you want to have documented, like in your notebook or on a Google Doc, the other parcels, in case you talk to a buyer agent and they're like, that one's not looking, but I do have someone looking in this. And you're like, oh, wait, do I have any in that? Or you ask that question, they're not looking. Do you have any other clients that might be looking, and also maybe not even in that area, because this potential client I'm working with or this client I'm working with has parcels in this city? You just have a good reason to be having conversations. So I would pick a residential one, and honestly, I would probably pick the one that he said the lowest number on, because that, generally speaking, will have the most potential buying pool, because you can ladder up from there. But if you start with the one, because I think you said, I don't know, one of them you said was like 600 acres or something like that.
Yeah.
I would pick the one that would have the largest potential buying pool to start.
Okay.
Because it's the most likely to lead to an actual contract and compensation for you, A. And it will also be the easiest to start conversations.
Okay.
I think you've got it covered. And then also remember that if you haven't already figured out where this guy's primary residence is,
He's in Los Angeles.
Okay.
So he's not even in the same state. So he just owns a whole lot of land here.
I would let the conversations lead you to the path. In other words, you may find in this work that you uncover other lower hanging fruit as far as potential contracts from that. Because you talk to someone on this vacant land buyer list, and they've got a parcel that, I don't know, it's a buildable lot and they just need to sell it fast, right? Don't marry yourself to this guy and these parcels. Use it as a reason or an opportunity to just have a bunch of conversations. And maybe you match them up and there's compensation there. That's best case scenario. Worst case scenario, you're going to have a bunch of conversations and uncover more opportunities